Okay, I'm back, dear friends. Today I'd like to go through the machine of the Shenron 2 of the Vulnhub, and I will add the link into the description section below so that you can download it. Before we start today's video, if you don't mind, please subscribe to my channel and leave a like below. This will help me very much. I do appreciate your help and support. So without further ado, let's just get started. To save time, I have already imported the virtual machine or target into the VirtualBox. So now we can go inside the Kali Linux VM. As you can see, I have already identified the IP address of the target as 254. And then, as usual, I did the Nmap scanning with the options like sync scan, version scan, the default script scan, and also the comprehensive scan, which is very important in this case. Otherwise, you will not recognize the uncommon port number. So from the Nmap scanning results, as you can see, the three open port, the first one is 22. Which is running SSH and also the actual version information. As we know, this version doesn't have any vulnerability. Of course, you also can use the search sprite utility to make research on that. And the next one is 80, which is running HTTP surface and also the actual version information. And next is 8080, which is also running HTTP surface and also the actual version information. So what, of course, from this point, we have already know that the website is running, or the target is running WordPress installation and also the version information. Of course, you can use the Google search engine to make research to know whether this version of WordPress has some specific vulnerability. For example, like remote code execution vulnerability. But I can tell you, will not get the result what we expected. So what we can do now is to do immersion for the web applications for both 80 port and 8080. Now let's open up our browser. The put up address of the target. And I think this is just a very static web page. And also you can check the source code of this page, but nothing special there. And also we can check whether this site has robots file, but not found. And then we can use the link tool to do some immersion. You know, we cannot miss any the major step when we do the penetration testing. Otherwise, you will miss some very important point. But in this case, for this machine, we cannot get anything useful from the 80 port number. And also you can use the GoBuster to do some immersion. I mean the direct immersion. Let's remove the port number because this is the standard port number, which is 80. But I can tell you we cannot find anything useful, just I mentioned earlier. So I'd like to interrupt this process of the direct immersion for the 80 port number. But I think now it's time to turn over to the next port number, which is 8080. And of course, I'd like to resume to the original status of the host file. Now we can access this port number by browser 8080. Sorry, maybe there's some hashes. Anyway, we need to put the IP address and host name into the host file. Otherwise, you will not load the page properly. But because I have a cache locally, now we can refresh the page. Yeah, no problem. So what can we do now? Of course, you also need, before we do the WordPress scanning, we need to use like Licto and GoBuster to find to see whether we can find some like directories or some files. But For this machine, yeah, we cannot get such information. To save time, I will pass this section. And now we can use the WordPress scan tool to do some specific immersion. And the option is E, and do the user immersion and the plugin immersion. Yeah, we have already identified the username, which is admin, and then we can use the same command to crack the password. Let's hit enter and go on. I can tell you the password is very simple. And even we can, before we try to crack the password, we need to see whether this user has or use the weak password like admin. Actually, this is the case. As you can see, we have already successfully logged in as the admin to this WordPress administrator panel or portal. And yeah, of course, you also can wait for this process to be completed, and then we can get the same password. Anyway, we can let it run, and now I think so far, or as long as we can get the password of the administrator of the WordPress, the next thing we are able to do is to upload PHP reverse shell. And the most preferable way for me is to navigate to the appearance and the sim editor and locate the 404 template, and we can remove and replace by our reverse. I can open up another tab. We can copy from my toolsets directory, and then we can make some modification to modify the IP address of the attacking machine, which is let's right and quit, and we can cut the content, and we can make a copy of the entire PHP code of this reverse shell. You know, this is my most preferable way to get initial foothold, and we can paste here. But in this case, for this machine, we cannot update or modify this 404 template. So I think we need to turn to other ways. For example, the next preferable way for me is to launch Metasploit. You know, for me, if you follow along my video series, I do not want to just show you the key points for the penetration. I want to show you the whole process when we do such a penetration. For example, for me, the second way or second option to install or upload the reverse shell is to use this module. Maybe we need to make a search because I cannot remember the full path. Yeah, we can use this module to upload the reverse shell, and of course we can use, and then we can show options. For example, we can configure the local host or Kali Linux, and also local port and remote host and remote port, and set password and username. So of course, in this case, this way cannot also work or as well. So I'd like to quit from this Metasploit console. So what can we do? You know, because we have already logged into the WordPress administrator panel, and if we go to the plugins, we can leave the page. There's some plugins we have we have already know that. And here, you can see, you can notice that I think the site editor, the version is a bit slow, a bit low. Sorry about that. And we can make a search. Site editor, exploit. Actually, this version of a site editor plugin has local file inclusion, and this is the POC, and we can make a copy to see whether this is actually working, and we can paste in here. Yeah, I need to remove duplicate slash. As you can see, we have already retrieved the content of a password file, and at this point we can know there's some username, for example, the Shenron, and the another one is Jenny. At this point, we can confirm the target has LFI or local file inclusion vulnerability. Next thing we can check is whether we can access, for example, like a private key, home, and Shenron SSH ID, but the status is false or response is false. And also we can check another user, Jenny. We cannot retrieve the private key as well. So, and next thing we can check, or we can try to see whether we can access the author log, but nothing returned. You know, in some cases, in some certain cases, if we can access the author log file, and then we can exploit this file and upload or install the reverse shell. But in this case, because nothing returned, also we can try if we can access like Apache 2 access log. Also, you will get the same result or failure. So what can we do? Now, since we have already obtained the username and password, or not the password, just the username, not the password, we can use the Hydra to crack the password for this user. For example, the Jenny, and the word list I'd like to use is the ROQ and SSH. Let's hit enter. So we let this Hydra to be running. Actually, the password is also very, very simple. The password is the same as the username. So to save time, I think this process of the cracking, password cracking, is finished. We have found the valid compilations, and we can use, of course, we have already done that earlier. Similarly, we can open up another tab. Maybe we can use this tab to SSH. As I can tell you, the password is the same as the Jenny. Or other way, you can wait for this process to be finished. But to save time of the video, I'd like to speed our process. As you can see, we have already logged in to the target via SSH. So what can we do? The first thing, the next thing we need to do is to elevate our privilege. Maybe before that, we need to make lateral movement. The first thing we can check is sudo, but nothing there. And also we can check the find command. The type. I think you can immediately make a notice of this command, the execute, which looks very weird. This is not default binary, and we can run this one. but nothing returned from this command. So next thing we need to do is navigate to temp directory, and we need to upload the linear shell script. You know, the linear shell script is so powerful when we do the local privilege escalation. Linears, and then we need to make it executable, and then we can run this linear shell script. You know, this shell script will go through or identify all possible local privilege escalation vulnerabilities, and also some misconfigurations or some files which contains confidential information, for example, like a password. So we just wait for this to be completed. Yeah, we got one very interesting, looks very suspicious because it's highlighted in yellow. Yeah, it's almost done. Okay, so we have already got suspicious command is bash. So as you can see, everyone has all permission to this executable, but because this is the bash, so this one will be very easy to make privilege manipulation. The bash, as you can see, we have already become the group of Shenron. And then what we can do, we need to do some local immersion. We can go to the desktop. Now we can get the user flag or local flag. And then here, there is a path file. It looks like this information is encoded, and then we can make a copy and use the cyberchef to decode such a message. And we can paste the information into the input field. We can make a copy again. And we can select the base, for example, the base 64, but the result is gibberish. Maybe this one is not correct. Maybe we can try this one. Yeah, I think we got the password for this user. We can make a copy. Then we can switch to another user. And then we can paste the password here. As you can see, we have already switched completely to another user, Shenron. And now we can, of course, for us, what we are going to do next is to elevate our privilege to the root user. Yeah, we can run all commands without supplying the password of the user, of root user. And then how to do with just the sudo and bin bash. We're very easy. And we can navigate to the root directory, and we can cat the root flag here. So that's all. That's pretty much it. Yeah, we have already got or retrieved the root flag and got the root shell. So I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.